Will I grow up to be a big, strong, Texas Jumbo Forever guitar pick just like you?
It doesn't matter how big you are, son. It matters what you're made of. We were brought right here to America to be handmade by Luther R.S. Paul. He's an expert in exotic woods. Any other questions, Jazzy?
Yeah, why did Aunt Babinga get mad because you gave her crabs on her birthday?
Compressor pedals, island pedals. Man, we got all kinds of pedal questions. Welcome to another edition of Ask RGD. If this is your first time watching an episode of Ask RGD, the rules here are very, very simple. You ask me a guitar or gear related question, either down in the comments or via email or via Facebook Messenger or on the contact form on the website, whichever method you prefer, and I answer said guitar or guitar gear related question in a video. So this question comes from PRS Rocker. And I am going to ruin PRS Rocker's anonymity because if you are not aware, PRS Rocker is none other than Jim, who I happen to know personally, as Jim is one of the hosts of the Practical Guitarist podcast, which I strongly encourage all of you to check out. And I will post links to their podcast down in the description box below so that you can go listen to Jim and David's show because it's fantastic. If you enjoy guitar gear, you need to check out their show. Anyway, Jim's question was, "Hey Robert, great video, man," referring to the last, the last episode of Ask RGD, I believe. "Hey Robert, great video, man. Love your channel as always. I've got a question for you. Have you used a compressor or EQ as a boost? Were you satisfied with the result?" That's actually two questions, but I'm going to answer it. Have I ever used a compressor or EQ as a boost? EQ pedals, yes, that's actually my preferred method of boosting signal, and I actually prefer to run them in the effects loop. And, just because, especially running them in the effects loop, it's actually a really, really clean boost, doesn't color your, other than the EQ, however you dial in the EQ, it won't add any other kind of coloration to your signal if you run it that way, particularly, again, as a solo boost. I learned that trick from... Boss G7 is great for that, and I learned that from a buddy of mine several years back, and I've employed it ever since. Have I ever used a compressor as a boost? No, I haven't. Me and compressor pedals don't really get along. Yeah, it's not that we don't get along. I've always been such a high gain player. I've never really had a lot of use for them. Compression doesn't do much for my signal. But as a guy who is actively trying to learn to play with less gain, I thought I would give it a try. I set it up this way because I initially thought that this is how you ask the question, but I just went back and reread it and realized you did not. But we're stuck with it because I'm not changing it. Anyway, so what I have here is a TC electronic force field compressor, and this is actually the lone compressor pedal that I own. I think this pedal costs about $59. It's relatively inexpensive. It's out of TC Electronics, what I call their Smorgasbord series, so it's kind of their budget line of pedals. But it's the lone compressor pedal that I own, and me not being a compressor guy, I honestly couldn't really tell you if it's good or bad or indifferent or good for the price or absolutely horrible. I don't know. Compressor aficionados could probably tell me what they think, and that's all I would know. But I am actually running it in the effects loop, like I said, because I don't typically run gain type of pedals in the effects loop, but why not? Here's my clean signal. A little noisy, but that actually seems to work, at least with a clean signal. Let's see what happens on the distortion channel. Actually seems to go the other way. Okay. Let's try with a distortion pedal. Whoa. Okay, that is a strange, you know, and I'm sure this has something, you know, me not being real experienced with compressor pedals. It's weird. You run it in the effects loop, and on the amp distortion, it's, you know, totally kills the sound. But you hit the front end with a distortion pedal, and the same pedal in the same place in the same chain, boost it. So. Effective though, you know, I can definitely see a use for it there. You know, even if you're a really high gain player, you know, using it as a boost, you know, certainly does make sense. It's noisy in there, but you know, that's just this pedal and this amp. You know, you try, you know, some different pedals, different amps, you might get different results. I don't know. Cool experiment. Thanks, Jim. I honestly just wanted to play the intro again because I think it's cool and because I made it all by myself, and I like it. This one comes from Redheaded Step Pedal. I love that username. He says, if you were only allowed one pedal any amp, what pedal would you choose? I know when I commented on your question, I merely commented with, but the truth is, that is not a hard question at all. The answer to that for me would no question be the Amp Tweaker Type Metal Pro. And the reason why it would be the Amp Tweaker Type Metal Pro is because there is not a better effects pedal of any kind on this planet, in my opinion anyway, better than the Amp Tweaker Type Metal Pro. I love this pedal. Or something like that anyway. This pedal does, well, it doesn't do everything, obviously, but basically it's a 5150 in a box, and I think I can get away with saying that because it was designed by the same guy that designed the 5150 circuit, which, you know, for Eddie Van Halen back in the early 90s, I believe, which of course has since gone on to become one of the greatest rock amps ever. You know, and I know I'm not the only one that feels that way. I've gone on and on my channel how much I love this pedal. You know, it's one of my, you know, it's definitely my favorite, very favorite pedal. You know, I've had it locked down on a pedal board here for the last year or so, and that pedal board, unfortunately, really hasn't gotten used all that much. So the pedal itself hasn't really gotten used all that much, but, you know, I decided that this was a great opportunity for me to cut that zip tie that was holding it down and pull it out and get some use out of it. It's got a lot of really cool features. You know, of course, you know, plenty of gain. Doesn't really, you know, the gain on it doesn't really sound like a distortion pedal. It sounds like an amp. You know, again, you know, very similar to a 5150 or a 6505 plus. You know, something in that family. You know, plenty of EQ, plenty of tweakability options. It's got a built-in noise gate, you know, and you can even tweak that with a couple of internal trim pots. It's got three effects loops on it, you know, so if you want to bypass the pedal, you know, for your clean tone, and you wanted to, you know, for your clean tone, you want to have a chorus pedal that was on all the time, you know, you can run that in that effects loop. You can run an EQ or a compressor pedal or something in in the boost effects loop for a solo boost if you wanted to do that. You know, you can run a delay pedal in the universal effects loop should you decide that you want to add a little bit of delay for that 80s flavor, if you will. You know, I mean, the possibilities of this thing are endless. You know, now I know that if I were stranded on a desert island, I would not get to use most of those features. I don't know about most of them, but you know, certainly the effects loop I wouldn't, because this would be the only pedal that I would have. However, realistically, if I were stranded on a desert island, I think that I would have a lot more, much bigger problems to worry about other than what pedal I'm gonna have there with me. You know, me personally, if I were stranded on an island, you know, my number one priority is figuring out how the hell I'm getting off said island. I want to go home, where all the rest of my pedals are. This one comes from Mike Correca. He says, very good segment. What is your opinion of 10S guitars? Do you use any type of modeling amp, and what do you think about them, especially the Marshall Code series? You do a great job, Robert. Keep on picking, Robert. Sniper. Mike Correca, who is another loyal viewer. 10S guitars. I have not personally played any of them yet. However, I know Fluff actually they actually built one custom for Fluff, as he just recently did a video of it on his channel, and his comments, he seemed to be pretty impressed with it. So, you know, for some, you know, Chinese-made guitar, you know, but they apparently are very, very well built. I don't know. You know, I'd like to get my hands on one and try them out just to see what they're about. Regarding modeling amps, I'm not really much of a modeling guy. You know, the closest thing that I have to a modeling amp, I mean, I guess I suppose it is a modeling amp, is, you know, my Roland Cube 40 combo that, you know, you used to see behind me in a lot of my videos. You know, now it's actually over here underneath the desk. You know, that one is a modeling amp, and, you know, it's a small little 10-inch speaker, 40 watts, you know, and it does have some, you know, some good sounds in it. They're not the best sounds for recording. I think they're actually a little digitally processed sounding when you're running it through an extremely clean mic pre. So, you know, it's not the best amp in the world for recording, but for practice purposes, it's great. You know, onboard looper, you know, it's got some effects to play around with. Doesn't have a whole bunch of stuff in there, particularly a bunch of garbage that I'm never going to use. You know, it's got just the right amount of effects, but it has its purpose. I honestly don't use it much anymore, just because really most of the time that I get to sit down and play guitar is what you guys see me do in videos. You know, I don't really get much time to play anymore. But, you know, for a small practice amp, that, you know, if I did want to plug into something that I could keep the volume down, that's definitely the one that I would use. You know, definitely the one that I do use for that purpose. You know, but, you know, I'm just not a big enough modeling amp guy that, you know, that I'm going to go run out and buy another one. They're just, you know, again, they're just not for me. You know, there's way too much digital stuff going on the inside of them for my taste. Now, regarding the Marshall codes, I will say that, you know, they seem to have gotten a lot of flack. A lot of people seem to think, you know, don't seem to care for them much. I actually, a buddy of mine got a hold of one here within the last year or so, and I think he got one of the 50-watt ones just as a little practice, you know, thing to bang around with for him at home. And this is a guy that is really, really attentive to guitar tone and particularly amplifiers. And one thing that he said is, you know, with modeling amps, particularly when you set them to the Marshall, you know, whatever the Marshall model is for the Plexi, you know, there is a certain percussive tonal characteristic to a Plexi that you can hear when you're playing, and then you stop the strings from vibrating. You know, there's a certain percussive, and I don't really even know how to explain it. I don't have a Plexi here that I can demo it, but, you know, there's a certain percussive tonal quality to those amps that most modeling amps, when they model the Plexi, they always forget that one. Marshall Code got it right, and it's in there. So, you know, from what I understand, all the models in the Marshall Code are actually really, really well done and really very accurate. So, if you are interested in thinking about purchasing one, I'm not going to be the guy that's going to talk you out of it. So that's it for this episode of Ask RGD. Thank you so much for watching. And please do not forget to submit your questions for the next episode of Ask RGD, either down in the comments section. You can send me an email, you can send me a Facebook message, or you can reach out to me through the contact form on the website. And links to all of those forms of communication, of course, are going to be down in the description. You will also find links to all of the gear used in this video down and discussed in this video down in the description as well. And last but not least, if you have not already, please consider subscribing to this channel. You can also click the little bell icon right next to the subscribe button, and that will make sure that you don't miss out on future content of this channel, which is uploaded twice a week, every Wednesday and Saturday morning. Thank you so much for watching. I will look forward to your questions to answer on the next episode of Ask RGD.